Good morning and welcome to Mental Health Matters Office Hours with me, Dr Audrey Tang. My co-host is Judith Crosier, and this morning we take a look at all things workplace wellbeing. Today's a little bit more of a practical show because we have had on our show Dominika Kalinowska. She is a therapist and she works specifically with managing our emotions, and this can be absolutely invaluable in the workplace. So we're going to be giving you a series of practical tips and tools that you can put into action to bring out the best performance in you. Jude, morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
It's one of those busy days though where sometimes I just don't know whether I'm coming or going.
Most of my days are like that.
Yeah. And this is why I'm really happy we've got today's show, because one of the things I know I'm used to doing is suppressing all of those. So you don't know whether you're coming or going. You've had to deal with this little thing. It's not a big crisis, but it's just a little thing that's going to play on your day. And the most common thing to do, and I think a lot of professionals out there will resonate with them, is go just suppress that, get on with it, and then deal with it later. But you never deal with it later.
No, because there's always something else and always something else, and then the evening comes and you have to do dinner, and yeah, and you're right.
This is why I'm so pleased we've got some practical tools from one of our resident therapists, Dominika, and she's preparing in a different studio to give us these tools. But why don't we listen to ourselves? So we say in our heads, I'll deal with it later. And it might be our body is crying out to deal with it because instinctively we're just thinking, I don't want to do this next thing, or I don't, and yet we're just going, no, power through.
Yeah, I think that from my point of view, I think it's not wanting to acknowledge that, I don't know, it might be perceived as a weakness if you have to deal with it, if you don't just get on with it. And it's a very British stoic way, isn't it?
Yes.
Just get on with it, just carry on regardless, and just cope and carry on and do the next thing without stopping to deal with things.
Do you know what? You saying that, it's just all the conversations we have, especially on the workplace show, seem to talk about, even without saying it explicitly, how many of our systems are based around male behaviours. That's not necessarily a criticism, it's just an observation. Mm-hmm. The stiff upper lip is as well.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's what most organisations are based on historically, aren't they?
And in a way, maybe that's fed into us socially, even though it's unconscious, that keep calm and carry on approach. And even though we all know it's helpful to express emotions, we just choose not to do it because other people will judge us. And then we get to this funny loop.
It's the judgment, I think.
Yeah.
Especially in the workplace.
Yeah.
Because I think that sometimes if colleagues think that they're going to be perceived in a way, if they let their guard down and just do express themselves in whatever way that might be, just to cope with the situation, they might worry that they're going to be perceived as weak or as unprofessional or anything else negative, and so they don't, and they keep the guard up. But just even me thinking about that, it takes energy, and it must do something to your cortisol levels and all of this, which through this program I've learned is really bad for your health. Stress, and if you don't deal with the stress, all those levels, unhealthy levels, are going to stay up all of the time, and
it's going to show up somewhere.
Yes.
So now I think about it, Jude and I used to work together in a secondary school. It was a stressful job anyway. Yes. Our producer Sarah also used to work with us, and now we're all working in a very different environment.
Thank goodness.
And I know, and it happened to me on 2 occasions when I was really, really stressed, even though my brain's going, you can cope, my voice just went completely, and it went. We're not talking about a bit croaky, we're talking about could not even whisper.
Wow.
And so it shows up somewhere.
That's so interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
I never really thought about it.
No.
Or rather, I'll say those, it just happens when I'm stressed. And it doesn't process. I've only said it at a superficial level. But it's since having these conversations where I've just gone, no, it really does.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, it comes out somewhere. And some people might just carry on until they literally can't, and then they're incapable of carrying on. Or some people, you know, carry weight because of all the stress hormones.
Yeah.
I know that's happened to me. So, yes, it always does come out somewhere. And it's better if it comes out in a more controlled way.
And a deliberate way as
yeah.
well. And this is why we are delighted to have our resident therapist, Dominika Kalinowska, with us to give you some practical tools. So we're going to head over and listen to her about why we need to listen to our body, listen to our emotions, and what happens if we don't. Over to you, Dominika.
What is your anxiety trying to tell you? There's a reason why you feel anxiety. Your brain is trying to protect you. And to protect you, it makes you feel fear. So you run away from a situation that is uncertain for you, that doesn't feel familiar. Why is that happening? It's because we've got something called amygdala in our brain. The amygdala is part of the brain responsible for fear and stress. And when it's activated, the activation of a fear and fight or flight response is being triggered. And your nervous system goes into react, or freeze, or flee. And we're in that state where we feel all of those symptoms like increased heart rate, sweating, we feel a bit dizzy, or maybe you're shaking when you're anxious or stressed. That's normal to feel that way. But how to manage it? How to manage the anxiety? The simplest way is box breathing. I usually do that with clients. Box breathing is about inhaling for 5 seconds, hold it for 5 seconds, exhale your breath for 5 seconds, and hold it again for 5 seconds. So let's do it together. Inhale for 5. Hold it for 5. Exhale for 5. And hold it for 5. That's it. That's one of the ways that you can manage your anxiety when you're in public place, for example, where you can't just run away. You need to manage it internally. Another thing that I always love to do is tapping. Because I'm an EFT practitioner, I usually practice tapping with clients. But you don't have to know those techniques inside out to be able to manage your anxiety. I'll give you one simple technique. When you have your collarbone, feel free to, whenever you feel anxious, just tap your collarbone. Tap your chest. And then I already did very deep breath in, because it forces you to really focus on your body when you're in that anxiety state. And then you can simply breathe deeper, inhale deeper, and focus on what's happening in your body and your mind. And this will calm your body, because tapping calms your nervous system. And it makes your brain, and it tells your brain that you're safe and you're okay right now. And you can even say that to yourself. I'm okay, I feel safe. And I'm in the right place, in the right time. And you can give yourself those affirmations when you need to. So this is the most powerful two techniques that I usually use for myself and my clients. So good luck with it, and be curious.
Thank you, Dominika. It is important to listen to our bodies. It's and I know we don't, because, as we said at the start of the show, is that keep calm and carry on.
Yes, absolutely.
But then the next question is, okay, listen to our bodies. How do we cope? Because I know so many people, and let's just take a very big example here, grief. The common thing I always hear is, if I start crying, I won't stop. And people don't want to do that. And I know why. It's either it's not the time to do it, it's not the space to do it, or sometimes even worse, in a way, I don't want to burden you with it. As a friend, I don't want to burden someone else with it. I don't want to burden my children with it. So I do get that. So where do you start processing emotions? I start by writing.
Well, I've been, again, on these programs, we've learned that writing, journaling is really, really good. And I always think, oh, I'm going to do that. And I don't.
That's normal. That's perfectly normal.
I know. And I'm hoping to have a bit more time to do that now. But it's interesting you mentioned grief, because after I lost my dad, which is 9 years ago now, I did start writing. And I wrote fairly regularly, and that's become less and less and less over the years. It's been 9 years. So, but actually, it was great in terms of the grief and grieving, but it was just great in general as well, just to kind of like just dump everything from your mind onto, in my case, it was on the computer. I did a blog. So it's really, really useful, and it's interesting that you do that regularly.
It just helps me. I know there's that worry though, what if someone finds it? So in my household, my husband would not read my diaries or anything like that, so I don't have a problem with that, leaving a journal around. For some people, actually having it on your phone can make a difference as well, because then you can lock it down.
Yes.
So that would be another option. Another thing that I recognise as well is I teach dance, and even if I've had a stressful day, going to class, it helps release some of that, and I always come away feeling great. So movement can be another way of processing. What are your thoughts on movement?
Definitely. I mean, I used to dance and absolutely loved it, and it does make you feel a whole lot better. You know, it gives you a natural high. And I recently started going back to the gym and just love it, because it's different kind of movement to dancing, obviously, but it's become quite addictive quite quickly.
Yes.
And I think it's because, you know, even if I go in there exhausted and, you know, just feeling really stiff and old and all of that, I come out feeling really tall and light, and it just makes you feel amazing. It's the time though, isn't it, to kind of fit that into your day.
You know, now that's interesting you say this. So we've got a lot of amazing practitioners on here. Amy Lawrence is a chronic pain coach, so she really helps people. She suffers herself with fibromyalgia, and she helps people with managing the pain, what to do when you've got flare-ups and so on. And she recently came to us and took us through a stretch class, which was absolutely brilliant. Doesn't take long to do at all, so try this. And it is safe. She really manages it well. Let's head over to Amy.
Hello, my name is Amy. I'm a chronic pain practitioner and coach, and I help those with a condition called fibromyalgia and other chronic illnesses to really improve their symptoms and take back control of their life. And part of what I do involves really encouraging you to increase your movement with chronic pain and chronic fatigue. So today we're going to do a little bit of a movement session. So we're going to do some stretching, breath work, and some nice somatic movement as well, which can be really supportive with symptoms like chronic pain and chronic fatigue.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters Office Hours. We are talking about ways that we can process our emotions so they don't come out at inopportune moments. We do need to process them. It's not a case of just remaining stiff upper-lipped and very stoic about everything. There is a time to do it, and this is why we've put today's conversation into our Workplace Wellbeing show, because professionally we don't have the space to do that. We've just been talking to our resident therapist, Dominika, Kalinowska, who's going to give us some tips all the way through the show. And we've just seen Amy Lawrence. She is a pain coach, and she's just taken us through some simple stretches that you can do at any point during the day. We're now going to head back over to Dominika, who is going to talk to us about how we can start processing our emotions.
How to process your emotions in a nutshell. First of all, when something gets triggered in you, when you feel those uncomfortable emotions, don't suppress it. Stay with them. How to stay with those emotions? They might be painful, they might be uncomfortable, but how about you be curious? curious about your emotions, curious about your sensations, feelings, and thoughts, you try to name it. So you can say, I feel sad. You can do it aloud or in your mind, just name it. Or guess, however you feel, just say, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I feel this or that. This person triggered me and this is how I feel. It's okay to feel the way you feel. Totally okay. The most important thing is that you name it and you recognize that this emotion is there. Then you feel it. You allow yourself to feel that emotion. You can even intensify it in your body. And then locate it. So locate it wherever it is. Is it in your stomach? Is it in your heart? Is it in your mind? Make sure that you name it, feel it and locate it, and then kind of acknowledge it and notice it. Be gentle with it, be curious, and then the emotion will pass, because emotions, funny enough, last only 90 seconds. After that is your thoughts that keep them going. So how about today you're going to be curious about emotions when you get triggered. You feel those emotions, locate it, make them going, because they will disappear eventually. Simply be with your emotions, do not distract yourself.
Thank you, Dominika. So, we've now learned that we need to listen to our body. We've learned how to start processing some of those emotions, whether it's somatically or whether it's things that we can do cognitively. And we have more from Dominika coming up. The next topic is anxiety. Workplace anxiety. We even heard in a recent show from Laura Howard, she took you through a fabulous exercise about the anxieties that we can feel when other people ask us to do something for whatever reason.
Yeah.
What are some of those negative thoughts that you have experienced in that workplace situation? Maybe not just when you're asked to do something, maybe because you think you're going to be set up, or maybe it is outside your comfort zone. What are some of those anxieties? What are those negative automatic thoughts that immediately turn up?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I can remember them, that sort of anxiety in the workplace, in two separate areas of work. So one was in teaching. That comes with huge anxiety because you've always got deadlines, you've always got targets and goals and things to hit. And I can already feel myself doing that.
Yeah, you can see it as well. That's really interesting. And this is the power of the brain, people. This is the power of the mind. You don't even need to be in that situation. If you're thinking about it, your body's reacting. So
I know.
Yeah, thank you for that practical example.
Thank you. I mean, it's 5.5 years ago I left teaching, but still, I just go straight back to it like that. So that was one area. The other one is a more recent job, which, you know, I've recently left. So, and that was more playing on my, I felt like my values were always being challenged. So like my honesty, my integrity, and not necessarily mine, but the actions of others would compromise my values. So that was a completely different type of anxiety, but just as bad and just as real. And that was really, really hard to kind of deal with.
That is a hard one. It is known as moral distress.
Oh, it has a name.
It does have a name. A lot of these, you see, this is why we talk about things. And then the more we talk, the more we realise, do you know what? It has been studied.
It's a thing. And I didn't even know it was a thing.
It's a thing.
There we go.
Moral distress is when either your actions or other people's actions challenge your morals and your values and cause a state of distress.
But that's exactly what happened.
And it relates to stress and burnout.
Yes, and that's why I've left.
Yeah, and it happens in the workplace. We talk about it more when it comes to clinical practice because it's often targets, and actually school as well. You know, you've got deadlines to meet, you've got things to complete, and you just can't do the job you're actually wanting to do.
Exactly.
But it can work in this context as well, whereby the actions of other people have kind of made you compromise your morals and values.
Yeah.
And even though you know it's wrong, but you need the job.
Yeah, exactly. And then until it comes to a point where you can't, because there's going to be too much compromise, and you know, in my case, my values wouldn't let me carry on in that position because the thought of anyone questioning my honesty and integrity was just too much to bear. So I just had to leave. But I really feel if I couldn't have left for financial reasons, I'm all right for a few months and I can get some more work. But if I couldn't have left for financial reason, what would that do? And
Exactly.
what does that do to people?
Exactly.
It's awful.
And this is why, again, understanding what anxiety is and maybe what anxiety you're actually reacting to is one of the most important things. Because something that we also do is sometimes we react, or we're triggered and we react in the moment to actually a past experience. Like you said, this happened 5 years ago in the school situation, and yet you're feeling it now.
Yeah.
And so if someone were to place demands on you, maybe even, actually, no, I'm going to, if you don't mind, just as an example, at the moment, we're talking about in the studio expanding some of our charity arms. And one of the things we're talking about is opening a cafe.
Yeah.
Now this is a safe space, but I know just talking about, look into the licenses, look into the training, it suddenly caused anxiety, which this is a safe space, but that anxiety is likely to be not actually a direct reflection of what's going on now, but a throwback to the anxiety of before. You need to do this, you have to do this in a very unsafe environment.
That's a really good point. It's a really good point. And I think that, and it's something I never really thought about. And my immediate anxiety about looking at a new project isn't the new project, and isn't even all the million parts for the new project. It's having the time to properly sit down and think it through, which I know I will do in a few days when I finally extricate myself from the other job. But at the moment, my head is full of the other job, and I'm like, I forgot time. But I will on Tuesday, Wednesday, so it'll be fine. So yes, but it actually might play back to previous
the
roles.
Immediate trigger.
Yeah, it could have been.
You see, this is why
So interesting.
Yes, this is why we have these conversations,
Yes.
and we're going to go over to our resident therapist, Dominika, who is going to be talking about what is anxiety.
How to hear your body, how to understand your body. Funny enough, your body speaks before your mind says anything or notices anything. So how about right now you focus on your body? You can close your eyes or you can keep them open and just notice if your jaw is clenched. Because if your jaw is clenched, you might be holding on to stress or tension. Now notice your chest. If you feel tightness in your chest, it might be that you're holding on to anger. How about your stomach? Is your stomach clenched? Sometimes we hold lots of sadness in our bodies, lots of frustration, lots of uncomfortable feelings that we've been suppressing for a long, long time. So how about you give yourself time to listen to your body right now? And then make sure to listen the message that your body is trying to give you.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters office hours. It's like therapy in a nutshell today, isn't it?
It's great.
This is why when we have those conversations, it sparks other conversations and it might resonate with other people, which is why I think this is so useful.
Well, exactly, because we're talking about, on the ground situations, and I'm hoping that I don't hope that people watching are having anxiety, but I'm hoping that if you are having anxiety, that you can just identify, because it is normal everyday stuff that we're talking about, yes. Which is great.
Yes. And that's actually a really nice place to start with this. Normal. Because it's really interesting. I caught myself with a client, it was this week, where I remember saying something. I was going to say, what you're doing is perfect, is what you're doing is not normal. That was what I was going to say, because massive anxiety, workplace anxiety, and they're just pushing through it because they have a deadline, and it's like by Tuesday, if that happens, it's actually all going to be fine. So no amount of my saying it's not good for you is going to make any difference. And I remember catching myself saying, and I said this to them as well, what you're doing is not, I'm not going to say it's not normal. It is normal. It is completely normal in your situation that you are doing this. It's not healthy.
Yes.
And we interchange those words, I think, wrongly, because if I, as a coach, can make that mistake, we need to worry. Well, not worry. Let's not add that into it. We need to be mindful of what words we're using, because it can give a very strange message. Something can be perfectly normal to do in a circumstance, but it may not be healthy.
Exactly. And maybe if you go back 40, 50 years ago, it wouldn't have been normal to have just pushed through, because the workplace then was so
Very
different. Yeah, there were more people doing the same work.
Yeah.
So, and they were paid probably better as well.
Cost of living was different.
Yeah, exactly, like proportionally better. So, and now there's fewer employees because everyone wants to cut expenditure, doing the same amount of work, and so it probably is a lot more normal to push through and to just ignore the anxiety that you're feeling and to ignore the symptoms that it causes. But it shouldn't be. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's not healthy.
Yeah.
It's normal, but it's not healthy.
Yeah.
And just you saying that reminds me of their reaction when I said, no, it is perfectly normal you're doing this. The relief.
Wow.
The relief, because I didn't call them abnormal.
Yeah.
And that's where mental health has a stigma all the time. It still has a stigma of, all of this is normal. Normal is healthy. No, normal is actually not healthy.
Exactly.
A lot of the time.
Yeah. And for it to still be, for the unhealthy behaviours, for want of a better word, or ignoring everything that is unhealthy, for that to become normal is just
it's the
so
problem.
bad.
It's actually the problem.
Yes.
So we go back to our therapist here. Dominika Kalinowska has been helping us by giving us some practical tools today. And we're now going to go over to her to talk about how to calm anxiety.
Today you're going to learn how to calm your anxiety in very simple steps and how to ground yourself in order to feel those emotions, but also snap out of it, because I know it's quite hard to snap out of that anxiety when you're into it. Anxiety is focusing you and it's pushing you to think in the future. So what we need to do is put you in now, to make you present right now in order to release that anxiety. So what you're going to do is you're going to find 5 things that you can see around you. You're going to snap out of that anxiety, look around and find 5 things that you can see. Then you can find 4 things that you can hear, 3 things that you can touch physically. Go around the room, you can touch some things. 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. And when you do all of that, you will feel like you're grounded and you're here right now. So how about you try it? Every time you feel triggered, or even right now, if you feel like you need that grounding energy, make sure to do all of those 5 steps and snap out of the anxiety.
Thank you, Dominika. I love having our resident experts in.
Well, yeah, I mean, Dominika's great. They're all really, really great. It's so nice to have them here and to be able to actually experience and to go through the exercises with them.
Exactly. Yeah. And you will have seen, Dominika, we do use a lot of these clips and these practical tools within our Mental Health Matters shows. But it's also really nice to put them together because they're all about the same theme, which today is managing our emotions. So we've now looked at some of these ways of calming anxiety, but there's something now called the third wave of therapy. And it used to be talking therapy was the only thing that happened. Of course, we know from all the discussions we've had, doesn't suit everybody. No. And sometimes people like you and me who are good at processing, we're good at creating the narratives and understanding, that's not enough for us. So third wave is much more to do with really working on the body. And something one of our guests, Ronia Fraser, said was about trauma and how she uses hypnotherapy to teach the client your body can feel different. Your body does not need to feel like what you've normalised it to be all the time. If you're always in that state of tension, you kind of go, oh, no, that's how I am. Under hypnotherapy, of course, it's deep relaxation. And suddenly it's, oh my goodness, I did not know that was even possible anymore.
Because probably it was so long ago that that person felt normal or how they should be feeling.
That they've normalised the new.
Yes, yeah.
And so some of these holistic approaches, I think, can be really helpful. We have Dr. Gus, who's a hypnotherapist, on as well, and we've got a whole show with him coming up. Yeah. But again, I'm very open-minded, but there are people who are kind of a bit like, oh no, it's got to be sit in a room, talk about your problems.
Yeah, because I think anything alternative that used to be called alternative, now third wave, can be a bit strange. I remember the first time that I ever saw Reiki, which was probably about 25 years ago, and it just felt like something that, you know, a witch doctor would use, because how can something where you don't even touch somebody, how can that change the way that person feels? But, you know, we've experienced it.
Done it. Yes, and that was such a good show. It's Mental Health Matters After Hours with Susanna Bradley. She did a Reiki session on you.
Yeah, she did. And you can feel the energy. And 25 years ago, that was just...
Ooh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But there are other alternative therapies.
And we talk, even in the workplace, we talk about energy.
Yes.
We know when somebody saps the energy out of the room. We know when you've walked into somewhere and you kind of go,
what's going on here?
Yeah. We can feel the vibe. So there is something in that. And yes, okay, we can't explain it. And maybe science can't explain it. But that doesn't mean if it helps you that you shouldn't be doing it. It doesn't harm anybody. So I'm really open-minded to these third wave approaches.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Until you try something, you don't know, do you?
What did you think about Reiki? Because I was filming that and I felt it. I could feel it was very warm, very positive energy coming from Susanna.
Yeah, exactly that. And it just felt like almost being almost like the air. So her hands were here, I think. Yeah. I couldn't really see, but I could feel, it felt like there was like a warm cushion of air. That's kind of what it felt like. I can't really explain it any other way. And might be psychological, but even if it was, does it really matter? Because instantly it was calming, and I know that my heart rate slowed down and my blood pressure probably would have reduced as well. So does it even matter if it's psychosomatic, isn't it? That you
feel,
think something's happening. So it doesn't matter, I don't think, either way. But it just felt like kind of really like being cushioned but very calming.
And something that Dominika has taught us on the show before is EFT tapping.
Yes.
Emotional freedom technique. And this is where you tap the meridian points, which acupuncturists will talk about and know about. And that can bring a calming sensation. She uses it in two ways. One, you can just tap. The other way is with affirmations and just those phrases to bring you that sense of calm, such as, I don't know, even if I can't control anything else, I can control my own breathing.
Yes.
So, something like that. That can make a difference. And tapping is not something, you hear it and you go, what?
I know.
And so, but then at the same time, people pay loads for acupuncturists.
Exactly. We both did a little bit of the tapping. How did you feel about it?
I like it because it's rhythmic.
Okay.
But I know, because it goes from here and then the eyebrows, and Dominika is going to take us through a whole tapping routine and on the face and so on. I prefer tapping in different places though. So I don't think that does a lot for me, but the collarbone does.
Okay.
But I also notice I do that when I'm stressed anyway. It's just that, people sometimes shake their leg and things. I do that.
Do you?
Or play with my pets. It's something with my hands. Or I might do tapping on. So tapping collarbone really helped me.
That's really interesting, isn't it?
Which is different.
Yeah.
So again, the whole tapping cycle didn't necessarily work for me, but bits of it did. And then going back to Amy's stretching, the thing that worked for me there was when she said just rock forward and back on the balls of your feet. That was incredibly calming.
Really?
So again, little bits for me made a real difference. What about yourself?
The tapping exercises, not really so much. I didn't really feel it. I know that it works for a lot of people, And obviously Dominika uses that a lot with her clients, and I know that it really, really works. Personally, not so much. But it was good to try it and to see it.
Exactly. And that's also part of it, because you will hear a lot of these new techniques and they may not be for everybody. That's okay. It's exactly about just trying it and remembering we're all adults. If it doesn't work for us, we don't need to go back.
Well, exactly.
But if you're curious about tapping, let's go back to Dominika, and she's going to take us through a tapping exercise.
Have you heard about EFT, tapping? Emotional freedom technique. What technique does is you tap on your body to release any tension, any stress, any frustrations that you've got, or feel all of those uncomfortable emotions that are stuck with you. And why do I love this technique? Is it because it works immediately, it works really fast. If you start implementing those tappings whilst you talk about your problem, it will resolve and process your emotions in a natural and quick way. So how about we try it now? I'll show you those points right now. So what we're going to be tapping is the top of your head, beginning of the eyebrows, the side of your head. You can use one hand or two hands, that's totally up to you. Underneath your eyes, underneath your nose, on your chin, on your collarbone, and a funny one underneath your armpit here. And then what we can do, I'll give you an extended one because it's the best one to do it at work, for example. You can tap those, you can tap the wrist, because it's a very subtle way to even calm yourself down, calm your nervous system, even if you're at work, and you can do it underneath your desk as well. You can squeeze your fingers like that. This technique is coming from Chinese medicine. Is those points are your meridian or acupuncture points that they're normally used for acupuncture, but you can do it anytime you want. You just need your hands. And then you squeeze all of your fingers. And when you do all of those points, when you tap from beginning to end constantly, you talk. If there is anything uncomfortable in you, you just say, I feel sad, and you recognize how you feel. I feel sad, I feel angry, I'm frustrated. And it's okay to feel those emotions and say it aloud. You're not repeating your negative things, because some people might say that you're reinforcing negatives, but actually, this is how you feel. And we're not reinforcing negatives, we are letting them out before we put more in. So at first we need to kind of clear that out, say how you feel, be honest with yourself. You can do it in your mind or out loud and tap those points. And then when you're ready, when you feel like your perspective slightly switched or changed, feel free to move on to a little bit more positive rounds. For example, I'm confident, I feel safe, I'm ready to open up my perspective for a new life, for a new challenge. What if, you can always ask yourself, what if I would let go? What would happen if I let go of that uncomfortable emotions? What if I let go all of that baggage? And you simply talk to yourself and make sure that you feel those emotions within you. Let them out whilst tapping constantly. You're tapping those points from beginning to end. And make sure that you finish on a positive note as well. So on those positive affirmations, whatever you feel like. Some clients actually, we just stop in the middle. We don't need to go into positives in order for them to feel better. So try how it works for you. It's a simple technique. You only need your hands and some space. So make sure that you try it. I'm really curious about how it goes. I'm really hoping they're going to find it really useful. And yeah, good luck with it.
Thank you, Dominika. I hope you enjoyed giving that tapping exercise a go. Now, another thing that people use a lot of are visualizations, because exactly as we just demonstrated earlier, and we can rewind this because this was live, if our brain has gone back to when we felt stressed, we feel it right now. And the number of times where I've been on holiday and overheard conversations where people are talking about work and talking about stressors they're dealing with, you know they're not present there.
Yeah.
They've come all this way.
Yes.
And they're not present.
No, exactly.
They may as well stay at home. You know, but that's what we do.
Yeah, I know. And my husband and I, we were talking about this because last year we went on holiday, you know, and we don't have many holidays, so it's like a precious, you know, oasis of time. Yeah. But we both had to take our laptops. We both had to do a certain amount of work, and we both said, not this year. just not this year, it's just not happening. Because otherwise you don't, because you're thinking about when you've got to do the work, even if it's just for a day, it still interrupts that time.
Yeah, and whilst it's nice to be doing it perhaps in a different environment, you're still not fully present in that moment. And this is the problem of the power of the mind. It can really take us away for the, the vicious kind of cycle way, but it can also take us away for the good. Have you heard about mindful walking?
I've heard about it.
It's quite nice.
Yeah.
And what you do is you go out and you focus on what you can see, what you can hear, what you can smell, what you can touch, what you can taste. The 5 senses, and you spend that time in that. What I really like is something called the Wonder Walk, which is slightly different.
Okay.
It's not so much about sensing, but it's about going around and stopping and reflecting when you see certain things. And I believe it's what brings you a sense of awe, what brings you a sense of peace, joy, curiosity, and inspiration.
I love it. It's a little take on the senses.
Yes, yes.
I like that.
And in doing so, you do the same moment of mindfulness because you're walking, and then if you're actively going, well, what brings me joy? You might walk down the street, suddenly, like both of us and our producer, we had an open house in our studio, and suddenly a dog walked in the studio, and we went, oh, it's a doggy!
Oh, what a piss. Dog. And then after about 2 minutes, we went, oh, hello to the owner.
Exactly. But that brings me a sense of joy.
Yeah.
Seeing a dog,
an animal,
or a cat.
Yeah.
So, and it reconnects us with the present.
Yes.
So that's why I think wonder walks are a good thing.
Sounds lovely, actually.
Yeah. And then another thing I just have to ask, because I have to teach mindfulness sometimes. Have you ever done that mindfulness eating a raisin?
No. Tell me about it.
In the studio now.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. It's
not. It's one of those exercises that gained a lot more prominence than it really ought to have, because I think the teaching point is really important. The eating of the raisin, which is the one that everyone used to do. Basically what you do is you buy a load of raisins, and I think it's because they come in those little packets, and you can, for one pack, will feed a lot of people.
Okay.
So you eat the raisin, you do it mindfully. You have to think about the texture and the taste and but not many people eat raisins day to day. So actually you don't necessarily notice anything new. You do notice stuff, but if you don't eat raisins all the time, actually how much are you really learning?
You're not noticing it in a different way.
Yes.
Yeah.
The second thing is no one likes raisins. So that's the problem. But if you do it with something like a cup of tea instead, and you take that sip and you think about the texture and the taste and what it feels like as it goes down your throat and the temperature and all of those things, and then you can say to somebody, well, okay, so what do you notice about that now? Even if they found this excruciatingly boring, which some people who do mindfulness do because they're too busy wanting to think about all of their work and things that they need to do, is they will, because they're trying to get out of the situation, tell you. They will say that they have noticed something, and 9 times out of 10 they're not lying. They genuinely have noticed something different. But the learning point there is actually you drink that cup of tea every single day. You don't even think about it. You have, in those 30 seconds where I've asked you to focus on it, you have been able to shift your mindset.
Interesting, yes.
And if you are able to shift your mindset, because I've told you to in those 30 seconds, you are able to shift your mindset to get out of the future or the past or the work mode and back into the present.
That's really interesting, isn't it?
That's the learning point.
That's a really good learning point.
And it's much better than doing it with raisins. So, power of the mind.
Yeah, wow.
Are there any visualizations you particularly like?
No, I don't like
You don't like them?
visualizations. I mean, I know that's very dismissive of everything. No, I'm not very good. Well, that's not right. I'm a very visual learner, so everything I do is visual in my mind. But I don't like setting time aside to visualize, because for those exact reasons, I've got things to do, I'm busy, I need to, so if someone says to me, sit down and visualize, I'll think, oh, this is a really good time. I can think about what I've got to do tomorrow and just like plan it in my head and not be thinking about, the lovely walk. But having said that, I did do the exercise when Dominika talked us through it.
Right.
It was amazing.
And that's what we're going to have a look
Yes.
at now. So try this with us. Over to Dominika.
For the next few minutes, you're going to relax with me. So I would really want you to close your eyes if you've got a moment. This will not take more than 5 minutes. But this is the time for you and you only. You're going to prioritize your needs and listen to your body. So how about you close your eyes right now? And when you take a moment for yourself, I want you to start scanning your body from your feet to your head. And in that moment, I would like you to notice any areas in your body that need that extra attention. Any areas that might be a little tensed. Maybe they stand out for you. Maybe there's a light coming in. Maybe you see a shape or a color within that area. Just notice it, do nothing about it. And scan your body from your feet to your head. And when you do that, just make sure that you feel emotions, whatever's coming up. You don't push them down, you simply notice them. Feel them. Maybe you're not used to a break like that. Maybe you're not used to prioritization of your needs. And now's the time for you to give yourself those few minutes of simple relaxation, of simple letting go. Make sure to breathe deeply, in and out. Don't forget your breathing. And in a moment, I will ask you to imagine yourself that you're at the beach and you're looking deeply into the sea. It's gorgeous weather. The sun is beautiful and it's shining onto your face and your skin. And you walk barefoot on the sand. With each step, you feel the warmth underneath your feet. With every step, you feel like your body is becoming more and more relaxed. And that your body's craving that relaxation, that peace and the warmth. And you get into that water and you move your feet slightly forward and you feel the coolness of the water just going around your feet. And it's very pleasant. And you enjoy that freshness of the water touching your feet. And every time that wave touches your body, you become even more relaxed and deeply, deeply relaxed. And you love that moment of calm and peace, the warmth and freshness. You can smell the air, the clear, beautiful beach wave. And you can smell them. You can smell even the fish around because there's a fish and chips behind you. Smell it. Be there. Make sure that you even taste the air. That saltiness in the air. That beautiful relaxation. It tastes beautiful. And that your whole body craves that relaxation and peace and comfort. And you feel very safe to be there. And at some point you can even lay on the beach towel and simply let go of anything that isn't serving you. Or if you feel like it, you can go for a swim. Go in that refreshing water, very safe. And you can swim around and imagine that everything that you've been holding on to is being dissolved in that water. Or if you chose to lay, that all of it is being dissolved by the sun. And in that moment, you feel the most peaceful that you've ever been. And that it's safe to let go of any baggage that is on your shoulders right now. That your body's becoming more and more relaxed. And this relaxation will stay with you even after you open your eyes. But for now, stay in that peaceful and comfort of the warmth of the sun, of the freshness of the water, the comfort, the relaxation, the peace. Stay in that. That's it. And whenever you're ready, you can leave the water, or you can stand up from that beach towel, and you can go back to where you came from. And at some point, take a deep breath in and out. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back to present moment. And I'm really hoping you feel refreshed and relaxed. And I'm hoping that this will stay with you for the rest of the day today. Thank you.
Welcome back to the final part of the show. We've been put through our paces today by our resident therapist, Dominika Kalinowska. Please watch her shows as well. They are, again, fascinating and a real deeper dive into a lot of the techniques. You did that visualization.
I did.
How did it feel?
It felt weird at first, because I don't let myself do things like that. But it was very calming. And once I just, gave myself a bit of a talking to, like just focus, then you can lose yourself in the visualization and the story that was being told.
Yes.
And also, it helps that Dominika's got a really lovely voice to listen to as well. So all of that together, it did work, and I did do it.
It was a moment of, it was an oasis.
Exactly, an oasis of calm.
Yeah, and that was a short visualization. That didn't take long to do. If you did it with us, you would have taken probably about 5 minutes or so.
Yes,
and all that does is it makes you feel a little bit more able to cope with the next things that life is going to throw at you. Because it just, for that minute, clears some headspace. It doesn't solve all problems. None of this is going to solve the problems, but it gives you the capacity to at least give it a go.
Yeah, and also I think probably when Dominika's talking, you're visualizing everything, you're quiet, and you kind of come into yourself. Probably your breathing regulates and becomes deeper, which also is going to help you physically feel better.
Yes,
as well, I imagine.
Yeah, I think she does mention earlier it engages the parasympathetic system, because it's the sympathetic nervous system, so called because it works in sympathy with, oh, this is busy, so we must get busy and we must think that we're going to go and fight our monster. Fight or flight is what our body then prepares to do. So the parasympathetic is the opposite of that. It calms us down, known as the rest digest. It means we can eat better, we can sleep better, we can cope better. So yes, you're absolutely right. The breathing is a big part of that. Now, it was a whistle-stop tour today with a lot of different techniques, but all of those will give you that little oasis of peace in your day. It will not solve the problems, but it will give you the space for you to be able to perform at your best to do it. So from Jude and myself, whatever of those exercises that you've tried and enjoyed, keep doing it and have a healthy week.